When we talk about hearing God's voice, some people kind of think about the televangelist who was on TV a number of years ago. And I remember watching him as I scanned channels once in a while, and he'd be like, what's that, God? As if God were speaking to him audibly. And although that does happen occasionally, most of the time when God speaks to us, it's in our inner voice, in our heart, in our spirit, especially if we're seeking after him and seeking after truth. But how do we tell whether it's God's voice or whether it's Satan's voice? There's a couple of tips that I'm going to give you that will help you out. God's voice is going to lead you. Satan's voice is going to push you. God's voice will reassure you, while Satan's voice will frighten you. God's voice comforts you. Satan's voice worries you. And then especially as it relates to things we do in our life, God's voice convicts us. And that's a fancy way of saying it's pointing out that we're doing something wrong. And if you want to get better, like I do, you want to know when you're wrong. However, Satan's voice condemns us. And with condemnation, we think that there's no hope, so why should we even try to do any better? That's the difference between the convict and the condemn. Ultimately, God is always a God of love and order. If you're not seeing love and order in the message that you're receiving, it's probably not from him. Listen. Sometimes in the quietness of our lives, that's when we get to hear God's voice. My hope for you is God's voice each and every day in your life.